What would you say if a cop started asking you questions right now and you knew one wrong answer could wreck your whole case? The scary part is this: you can talk yourself into handcuffs long before you ever see a courtroom. Before I reveal the exact words, hit subscribe so you can find this video again when you actually need it during a real stop. Smash like too, because these lines only help you if you remember them under pressure. You're about to learn 4 simple moves that can shut down the danger fast. First, how to figure out if you even have to stay. Second, the exact words that tell police you are done answering questions. Third, the line that blocks friendly search requests. And fourth, the backup phrase that tells police you want legal help now, not later. Most people have no idea how fast a normal traffic stop turns into a fishing trip. A simple, "Where are you coming from?" sounds harmless. Then it becomes, "Have you been drinking?" Then, "Mind if I look in the car?" Then suddenly your own words are being used against you. Let me show you exactly how to stop that chain before it starts. This matters because you do not get graded on being nice, helpful, or chatty. You get judged on what you say and what police can prove. A lot of people think silence makes them look guilty, so they start filling the air with excuses. They talk because they feel awkward. They talk because the officer sounds casual. They talk because they think honesty will make the stop go faster. Usually it does the opposite. Every extra word gives police more details to test, twist, or compare. Here's the reality. The officer may sound friendly, but your words can still become evidence. If you do not know where the legal line is, you can cross it without even feeling it happen. The first move is not to answer the question. The first move is to find out whether you are even required to stay there. You look at the officer and say this: "Am I being detained or am I free to go?" Those exact words. Keep them simple. Keep them calm. Keep your hands visible. Keep your voice flat. This works because it forces the moment into the open. If the officer says you are free to go, then you leave. You do not stay around to be polite. You do not keep chatting. You go. If the officer says you are being detained, now you know this is not a casual talk anymore. Now the officer is holding you there and the rules matter. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In Brown versus Texas, the court said police cannot just stop you and demand answers with no real reason. In plain English, that means officers need actual facts to hold you, not just a vibe, not just a hunch, and not just because you looked nervous. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and this is where people mess up first. The officer opens with a soft question. The driver thinks, "This is no big deal." Then the driver starts explaining. That explanation becomes the whole stop. The moment you ask if you are free to go, you stop guessing. You make the officer define the encounter. That protects you because it keeps you from volunteering facts before you even know where you stand. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I'm just heading home, officer. Is there a problem?" Then the officer keeps the conversation rolling and pulls more details out of them. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Am I being detained or am I free to go?" Then the officer has to tell you whether this is a real detention or just a casual contact. Watch what happens when you use this line. The whole mood changes. The officer knows you are not going to drift into a free interview. You are not fighting. You are not mouthing off. You are calmly asking for the legal lane. That matters on the street, and it matters later if the stop gets reviewed. If you remember nothing else, remember this first step. Before you answer, figure out if you even have to stay. Think you could stay that calm during a real stop? Let me know in the comments, because this next line is the one that changes everything. Now here's the phrase people came for. If you are being detained and the questions keep coming, here's exactly what you say. "I am exercising my right to remain silent." Word for word. Memorize that line. If you want the short version for the title of this video, the 3-word core is this: I choose silence. But when you are face-to-face with police, use the full sentence. It is clearer, it is stronger, it is safer. Here's why this works. Staying quiet by itself is not always enough. You want to say it out loud so there is no confusion. That tells the officer on camera that you are done answering questions. It does not mean the officer physically stops talking forever. Officers can still speak, they can still ask, but legally, you have made your choice clear. And that is the point. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it shows you did not waive your rights by accident. This is 100% legal. You do not have to explain why you are staying silent. You do not have to sound angry. You do not have to give a speech about the Constitution. Just say the line and stop talking. That last part matters. If you say you are staying silent, then keep chatting. You just killed the power of the phrase. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A lot of people think the right to remain silent only matters after handcuffs and Miranda warnings. That is not how real life works. If you are in a stop and police are trying to get information from you, your silence matters right then. Miranda versus Arizona made the rule famous by saying police must advise people of the right to remain silent during custodial questioning, and later cases made another point clear. If you want that protection to matter, you should say it clearly. Plain English version, do not just sit there hoping police will guess what you mean. Tell them. Bad way. Most drivers say, I didn't do anything, I swear, I only had one drink. Then the officer hears admissions, timing, and details they can test. Good way. Smart drivers say, I am exercising my right to remain silent. Then the officer gets no extra facts to use against them. Watch what happens when someone uses this the right way. The officer asks, where are you coming from? The driver says, I am exercising my right to remain silent. The officer asks, have you had anything to drink? Same answer. The officer asks, why are you so nervous? Same answer. Now the officer is not building a story from your own mouth. That is huge. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the whole rhythm of the stop. You are no longer easy to guide into a confession. You are making the officer rely on evidence, not your stress. That is where you want the case to live. The next move is the one that saves people from the mind if I take a look trap. You look at the officer and say this, I do not consent to any searches. Those exact words. Say them slowly, say them clearly, say them one time, then stop. This line matters because police often ask for consent in a casual tone. They make it sound small. They say things like, you don't mind if I check real quick, do you? Or, if you've got nothing to hide, we'll be done in a minute. That is the trap. If you say yes, you may give away a huge argument you could have used later. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection. You are not physically resisting. You are not grabbing anything. You are simply making it clear that the search is not by your permission. Listen closely because this is critical. Police may still search anyway if they claim some other legal reason, but that does not mean your words were pointless. Your refusal still matters because it shows you did not agree. That can become a major issue later in court. And if there was no valid reason for the search, your clear refusal helps your side. This is 100% legal. You can refuse consent without being rude. You can say it in a calm voice. You can say it while staying polite. You do not need a lecture. You need one line. Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, go ahead. I've got nothing to hide. Then the search becomes something they allowed. Good way. Smart drivers say, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer has to rely on actual legal authority, not your permission. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings about the limits of traffic stops and searches. Rodriguez versus United States said police cannot stretch a finished traffic stop longer just to chase unrelated investigation without real legal support. Plain English version? The stop has a job, and once that job is done, police cannot just keep you there hoping to find something. Your silence and your refusal to consent make that line clearer. You are not feeding the stop with your own mouth. You are not opening the trunk with your own words. If you've made it this far, you're serious about protecting your rights. Show me by hitting that like button, because this last move is the one people forget right before they need it most. If the pressure keeps building, you use the backup line that shuts the interview down even harder. Here's exactly what you say. I want a lawyer. Short, direct, no extra words. If you want the 3-word legal version some lawyers use, it is I want counsel. That just means you want a lawyer. But for everyday life, I like the plain English version better because nobody can pretend they did not understand you. Why is this so powerful? Because once you clearly ask for a lawyer during custodial questioning, the risk for police goes way up if they keep pushing for answers. That is why this phrase matters so much. You are not debating facts anymore. You are not trying to talk your way out. You are telling them the conversation needs legal help present now. Here's the reality. A lot of people wait too long to ask for a lawyer because they think it makes them look guilty. That is backward thinking. Asking for a lawyer means you understand the stakes. It means you know words are dangerous. It means you want a trained person between you and a bad decision. Bad way. Most drivers say, maybe I should talk to a lawyer or something. Then police may treat that as weak, unclear, and not a real request. Good way. Smart drivers say, I want a lawyer. Then the legal line gets much brighter. You need to be firm and boring, not dramatic, not emotional, not sarcastic, just clear. Say it once, repeat it if needed, then stop answering questions. That is the key. If you ask for a lawyer and then keep chatting, you help undo your own protection. Let me show you exactly how simple this can sound in real life. The officer says, if you cooperate, I can help you. You say, I want a lawyer. Then silence. The officer says, why do you need a lawyer if you did nothing wrong? You say, I want a lawyer. Then silence again. That is how adults protect themselves. Short words. No speeches, no leaks. Now let's put the law together in normal English. Miranda versus Arizona says if police are questioning you while you are in custody, they have to warn you that you can stay silent and ask for a lawyer. That case is the reason everybody knows the famous warning in movies. Berghuis versus Thompkins made another big point. The court basically said you should clearly say you are using your right to remain silent. Just sitting there quietly is not always enough. And Rodriguez versus United States said police cannot drag out a normal traffic stop just to go on a fishing trip without real reason. Put those together and you get the system you should use. First, ask if you are free to go. Second, clearly invoke silence. Third, refuse consent to searches. Fourth, ask for a lawyer if the pressure keeps rising. That is the blueprint. Now picture this real stop with me. You get pulled over at night for a broken tail light. The officer walks up and asks for your license and registration. You give the required documents, then the officer starts fishing. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? Have you had anything to drink? Why are you so nervous? This is where most people blow it. They start rambling. They give timelines. They mention bars, friends, medicine, stress, old warrants, or things in the trunk nobody asked about yet. By the end of 2 minutes, the officer has a whole menu of reasons to keep digging. Now here's the right way. You hand over the required documents. If the officer moves into extra questions, you stay calm and ask, "Am I being detained or am I free to go?" If the stop is still active and the officer keeps asking unrelated questions, you say, "I am exercising my right to remain silent." If the officer asks to search the car, you say, "I do not consent to any searches." If the pressure turns into real custodial questioning, you say, "I want a lawyer." That is the whole playbook. Let me show you exactly why this works so well. Each line does one job. The first line defines the stop. The second shuts down questioning. The third blocks fake consent searches. The fourth brings legal help into the room. And every line is short enough to remember when your heart is racing. Coming next week, what to do when cops ask to search your phone. Subscribe because that video could save your entire life from being exposed. So here's your quick recap. First, ask if you are free to go, because you should never guess your status. Second, say, "I am exercising my right to remain silent," because clear words beat nervous silence. Third, say, "I do not consent to any searches," because consent is how people give away protections. Fourth, say, "I want a lawyer," if the pressure gets serious and you need the strongest wall possible. You do not need to out-talk police. You need to out-discipline the moment. Hit subscribe so you catch that phone search video next week. Smash like if this gave you words you can actually use under pressure. And drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.